From the dawn of man, indigenous people from every corner of the globe have spoken of things that have now been discounted as myth or legend. Things they saw, lived alongside by, were looked upon as deities or worshipped by gods. Things that present-day man refer to as entities, spirits, demons, cryptid creatures, extraterrestrials, and much more. But sadly, modern man, science and society has discounted what our ancestors spoke of as legend and myths. But there are those of us that know what the ancient ones spoke of is the truth, those of us who are obsessed with finding out the truth. This search for answers brings us into the world of the unknown and unexplained. It brings us on the trail, in search of living legends. Please join us tonight in another part of our journey to find these answers and bring the truth out into the light. Welcome and thank you for listening.
Hey, welcome everybody to another edition of On the Trail in Search for Living Legends. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fountain, and tonight we have with us the usual gang. We've got Sean Wilson, my faithful co-host. Sean, how are you?
Super fantastic, man. How are you?
I am excellent. Glad to hear it, Sean. Glad to hear it. And as usual, we've got our editor / producer, Zarin Kinsella. Zarin, you knew I was going to make you say hello. Oh, he's being bullheaded. He won't say hi.
Oh, good evening, gentlemen. Pleasure to be here behind the scenes.
Well, glad you're with us, Zarin. Glad you're with us. And tonight we've got a great pleasure. Guy, Sean, myself, and Zarin think very highly of. A lot of respect for him. Is Mr. Jason Trost from Cryptovania. Jason, how are you, man?
Not too shabby. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Glad you could be here.
We really appreciate you joining us. Yeah, our pleasure, man. We had a great conversation.
Yeah.
We really enjoy doing stuff with you guys. You guys know your stuff, that's for sure.
Thank you. We kind of think of ourselves as a loose band of enthusiasts rather than a research organization. We're really fanboys of cryptids and everything cryptid and everybody involved in it, and that's kind of how we come about our business.
Right, yeah, and that's what we we like about you guys. You guys are a lot like the point we're trying to get. John and I started out just as straight, Sasquatch researchers, but, decided it was time to kind of branch off a little bit and explore some other avenues,
Yeah. One of my favorites is I've kind of followed the Bigfoot into kind of the quantum Bigfoot theory into a lot of the quantum UFO stuff. And
okay.
That's kind of something that I'm pretty enthusiastic about that. And
awesome.
I think great things are coming from that side of things too.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, you want to start off by just telling us a little bit how Cryptovania came about and how you and Tom hooked up and all that.
Yeah. Me, Tommy, and Nick have all been good friends for a very long time, and we've done a lot of stuff together. And we kind of put together this project, and it started out as just a Roku channel. It's called Cryptovania TV, and then we formed our Facebook group, and we really got a chance to meet a lot of very cool people that we were very enthusiastic about their work, and it's for us it's kind of like being baseball fans, and you get to go chat with Reggie Jackson, and you know, and so for us, you know, like I got to interview Greg Yost about his Dogman encounter last year, and it was like, well, Greg Yost wanted me to be the first one to interview him about that, and that was really, really cool. You know, that's like,
Sure.
you know, that's a cool guy, and you know, for him to think of us as his friends, you know, that's really kind of cool for us. But we also come at it from a little bit of a capitalist frame of mind too. We have not been successful at it yet, but we would like to make some money doing this. We kind of like to do this full time and be able to devote our full energies. We're very far from that right now, but it's still kind of a goal. And we like to be very unabashed about our goals in that sense, in that we are unabashed capitalists. And that's not just in the Bigfoot world, but in our own lives as well. That's really kind of a defining factor for all of us, especially me and Tommy.
Right.
And it's kind of grown to where it's also become, we are in Northwest Pennsylvania. We all are in a town called Titusville, Pennsylvania, a little town. And Cryptovania has come to be the entire Route 8 corridor that runs from Erie up near the lake all the way down to Pittsburgh. And it's kind of become this home country, and we have a community of people that a lot of them have nothing to do with cryptids and Bigfoot except when they're on Cryptovania. And we're very proud of that. And for us, we're really into adventure and thinking outside the box and really enjoying life. And that's, you know, for us, we've been able to take cryptid stuff and really expand on it.
Right. Now, as far as that goes, Jason, can you tell us a little bit about the different shows you guys produce on Cryptovania?
Yeah, what we started out with was our flagship show, which we call it Cryptovania, and it's our interview show where we took. Fortunately for us, there isn't a Mrs. Tommy Cooper, and so we converted his living room into a studio, and we put a big live edge wooden bar in there, and we've managed to bring a lot of people from around the country, Bigfooters, and we interview them in this studio, and that's our Cryptovania interview show that's available. We put those on our Facebook group page. We also have those on the Roku channel, and that's a video of the interview. And like we had Tony Merkel up from the Confessionals, and him and his brother came up and they spent the weekend. We got to take them out and show them some of our squatch spots and take them out on a couple of night jobs and take them to dinner. And then we shot the interview with it, and we splice all those together. So that's our Cryptovania interview show. Then we also have 3 Beers at Ray's, which is a Skype broadcast, and that's usually Tommy Cooper and researchers from around the world, and I'll occasionally be on there. Last year we got to interview in December. We got to interview John McAfee, and that he's a hero for me. And that was like getting to meet Mike Tyson or something. You know, he's
Very cool.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that was how I learned to use Zoom, which you and I are using now. And you know, because he insisted on that. I'm like, okay, John McAfee says we're using Zoom. And you know, so you add it to your repertoire. We also have a first-person encounter series we call Zero Squatch 30, and that's where people give us their encounter, and that's basically it's a podcast format, and we set it to video that's related. Our first one was a truck driver, Trucker George, and he also had footage of his over the road stuff. We were able to run that for the 40 minutes that it took him to recount his encounter, and that's Zero Squatch 30.
Very cool.
And then we also have He Said, She Said, which is what we do on the Para X radio network. And that is where Tommy Cooper and Stephanie Langer of Squatchers out in Minnesota, they do the live radio show, and I have the privilege of producing that, and we put that out live on the Para X radio network. And so we've got a pretty full plate out there of things that we're offering in our own original content.
Very nice. Very nice. Tell us a little bit about the other show you were telling me about, 5 Pounds of Sugar.
Oh, that is a show that what we like to do is that's kind of a non-cryptid show.
Right.
And that's a show that's dedicated to people that are managing to work in a way that's kind of outside the mainstream. Like our first guest was R.A. Mahaloff, who is who is local to here and became a horror movie legend. And we've been friends with him actually for a few years. And we had to go through the whole process of contacting his agent. And even though he was going to do it for free, we still had to go through his agent and do it all properly and stuff, because this is a job. And it was like, oh, this is really cool. We got to sit down and do R.A. Mahaloff for this 5 Pounds of Sugar show. And a friend of ours, Jay Witowski, who is our editing and producing guru, he put together this great introduction for that included clips from R.A.'s films, and that was how we ran the credits. And I tell you, man, I was really proud to have myself listed as director during a scene where there's R.A. Mahaloff for one of his horror things.
Absolutely.
And so that's really cool and fun, especially for just a couple of old hillbillies in Northwest Pennsylvania.
Right.
And matter of fact, we got that name from our buddy has a tire repair business, and I was talking to him, and he's like, getting to the point where I've got to either put money into my service rig, or I've got to do something else. And I said, you know what, man, what we need to get is 5 pounds of sugar. And he said, why? And I said, because we're going to pour it right down the gas tank on that, and then your problems are going to be gone. You're going to get to do the things that you want to do. And so that's the premise for 5 pounds of sugar. And we've had Bob Pringle is a writer who ended up getting into writing because he lost a bet. And we have a George Clarkson, who is a heavy metal guitarist. That's what he's done since he was 14. When you ask him what kind of jobs has he had, it was like pirating T-shirts and, selling pirated T-shirts and stuff like that, and that's his whole life. That's all he's done is rock and roll. And so we got to sit down with him. He actually came up from Florida so that he can come up and do our interview and also take part in a project we have celebrating this bridge that's in the area, this little rinky-dinky bridge that's got a fantastic following and story. And he came up from Florida to take part in these two projects. It was awesome. And he showed up with this, he showed up at our studio, and he showed up in this really big 4-wheel drive vehicle, and he had these two kind of badass looking dudes with him that you could tell were on the job. And those guys waited outside for him, and he came in, and it was like, oh my God, that guy's got some heavies with him, and it was kind of cool because he'd go out and tell them everything was cool. And those guys, I was like, well, you want to bring them in? And he's like, no, they're just doing their thing out there. And wow, this is serious stuff. This guy's really taking this serious, and sure. So that's 5 pounds of sugar. And that's actually a favorite of mine. And it's kind of part of our Cryptovania dream of doing things outside the ordinary, other than just punching in a time clock.
Right. Very cool. Yeah, that's actually a really cool system you guys got. Now, Jason. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You go ahead there.
No. Now, as far as now back to the the whole cryptid research side of your organization. Now, are you more how much focus do you guys put on the Dogman phenomenon as opposed to the Sasquatch, or is it split?
Well, I'll tell you, around here, where Tommy's at, he's had a garage in the same location for about 23 years now, and he's kind of like the local barber shop. He's a place where people like to come and tell stories. It really reminds me of like the barber shop in the Friday movies, or came off of those. Because people will come in just to BS, and like sometimes they'll come in with this tire that maybe leaks, they have to put air in it every week or two, and they'll come to tell us stories. And we've heard a lot of encounters or sightings in our area of Dogman. None of us have actually seen them, and they're usually like very fleeting, like road crossing.
Right.
And there's even been a couple where people have said that this upright canine was wearing like a flannel shirt, like a red shirt, and we've heard that more than once, that red shirt there. And the Dogman kind of seems to have its own weird aura that's definitely if you accept Bigfoot as normal, Dogman is kind of weird in a lot of ways. And sometimes it borders, like the persona borders on anywhere from like evil to tricksterish, like Native Americans with the coyote. And it's hard to tell what's our own perceptions.
Sure.
And for me personally, I'm kind of a latecomer to the Dogman party. I kind of always thought, that's not really. Well, it's not. It's one that I found hard to believe. But it seems like any of the Bigfoot researchers that you talk to, if you can get them to talk to you for a little bit, it seems like to a man and a woman, they have an encounter that they don't really like to talk about and make very public, but they'll kind of confine like they have what they think maybe kind of is a Dogman. And it seems to be like if you take Bigfoot and who is very elusive, but then you take this almost more supernatural aura with the Dogman, it's kind of very interesting.
It is, yeah.
And I don't know what to think of that one. But I've talked to quite a few people that I really respect that have what they're not quite sure, not quite positive is a Dogman sighting. And I've seen some really cool pictures, and you're like, they're not like Patty, but they're like, well, that looks like a Dogman, man.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of odd. Last year, actually, I got to interview Greg Yost after he had taken some pictures, and he captured what really looks like a Dogman in this picture. It's like you could see the snout and pointy ears and stuff, and that was really cool. I got to interview Greg Yost, and I quite honestly, I was the first person that he let interview about him, and he had called Tommy in particular, and said, "Hey man, I just had this really cool encounter, and I want to talk to you guys about it." And so it ended up falling on my shoulders that I got to interview him. That was really cool. That was really cool.
Very cool.
And
very cool.
We had Greg Yost on one of our Cryptovania episodes. We actually have him for 2 episodes because we had him for 4 days here in Cryptovania. We put him up at a hotel here for 4 days and spent that time with him, and that was a really cool experience. And when you hear Greg Yost say, "Hey, Trost, my German brother," and you're like, "Yeah, that's really cool."
Yeah,
I remember seeing those episodes. I was watching Cryptovania back then when those came out. Yeah.
Nice.
Greg's a good dude. I enjoy all the shows, by the way. I'm a fanboy. You guys
That's
are
awesome.
You guys are kick ass. So it's really cool to have you on.
Definitely.
Well, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Been really cool to have you and Tommy on.
This is my first solo interview where I'm the actual solo subject. I've done a couple with Tommy and Nick, but this is my first solo job.
Yeah, I started talking to Tommy a couple of years ago on Facebook, and then we conversed through text a little bit. And he invited me to come out, and I'm going to get out there one of these days. I really want to sit in the living room and do a show.
That was awesome. And what's cool is we've got the studio, and then we've also got the bar. And one of the fantastic advantages that we have is some of our best squatching country is almost within sight of Tommy's place, of TRT Studios and Cryptovania Studios. That's, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump away. We don't have to go drive for an hour. It's an advantage that we have. And so when we do have somebody that takes us up on it and comes out, we get to spend a lot of time out there doing that. And we've got this state park very handy, Oil Creek State Park. We rented Adirondack shelters one weekend, and we interviewed George Workman for that, and that was really cool. That was cool. That was actually George's first time showing his face on in the cryptid world on camera. We're very proud.
Wow.
Yeah. Now he's
very cool.
We consider him the busiest man in Bigfoot. And very. It's been a blast.
Yeah, that'd be cool, Sean. Maybe you and I can take a road trip up there at some point. That'd be awesome.
I have friends that live in Bethlehem, West Virginia. That's about an hour away from Pittsburgh. And my buddy Mark, he's a hardcore hunter. He lives out there. I would love to get him. He thinks I'm crazy about this Bigfoot stuff.
But one of the things that with the hardcore hunters that's kind of a good crossover is the black cats and stuff. Mountain lions here in these areas. Because maybe to some people that
he's seen one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Here in PA.
Well, no, in West Virginia. He's over in Bethlehem. He's about an hour away.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Very nice. That's a fantastic subject there too.
Yeah, we've seen them. They're seen in the Adirondacks as well, where I'm from. People report seeing them.
About a half hour from the studio, Tyke Bell recorded a black cat about 2 years ago, and it's a very good, clear video. There's no doubt that's a big black cat and not a house cat.
No, Jason, do they describe them? I've heard from the stories I've heard out of the Adirondacks, people describe them not so much like a cougar, but more built like a leopard. Is that what you guys are hearing as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And Alexander Petikoff, he's got next week, actually, he's got a new movie coming out just dedicated to big cats here, and it's called Lions of the East. We got to interview him 2 weeks ago, and that was a blast.
Very cool.
Yeah,
that is cool. I've got a buddy who where I hunt is down by Douglas, Nebraska. A friend of mine grew up down there. He saw a big black cat down there. I have cat tracks where I hunt. I've got pictures of these massive cat tracks where I hunt. So I don't know if it's the black cat. There's definitely at least a mountain lion going through there for sure. And I've also got giant canine tracks that are right underneath my tree stand, which freaked me out a little bit because at the time, we're like you. We're just getting our feet wet with this Dogman stuff. I didn't believe in Dogman. I didn't think there was such a thing. I mean, Bigfoot was weird enough, but we're getting into this Dogman thing. And like you said, there's so many credible people talking about this that we just can't ignore it anymore. And that's, that's kind of why we're branching off. And a lot of other things too, there's a lot of weird stuff like the shimmer that happens with these Bigfoots. And one second they're there, the next second they're gone.
Right.
There's so much weird stuff going on here that we just can't do and I'm not saying that they're, ghostly entities that can zap in and out. Maybe they are, don't know, but there's definitely more to the story than meets the eye.
We're missing something, that's for sure.
Yeah. I kind of lean towards myself. I kind of lean towards that they're interdimensional myself.
Okay.
A lot of people are on that.
And so for me, like once you've gone down that rabbit hole, you know, Dogman. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's not so far-fetched then, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's crazy. You know, but
I kind of lean into the biblical side of things, like possible Nephilim or like end of the, you know, like the end of the world stuff, like demons and, you know, it's all coming down and Jesus is coming back soon. So that's.
Or what was the tribe that was, or the destined to wander the earth alone? What was that? Was that Cain's descendants?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of interesting there. And then you've got like the mound builders and the elongated skull people. Where do they all fit into the picture?
And the giants, like the giant of Kandahar. That story trips me out. And there's more stories like that. In fact, I listened to Wes on Chronicles. He was talking about an interview he did that he never actually aired because the guy was so emotional and busted up. But he said he saw 2 of these things in Vietnam, and they had to kill these things. And
the rock ape, Sean?
No. These were giants. They were like 15 feet tall people with red hair. They were like the giants of Kandahar. Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, there's so much weird stuff out there. It makes the subjects, you know, it's fun to do this stuff. It really is.
It is.
Yeah. Within a half mile of Cryptovania Studios is a mound from one of the mound builders, and it's registered with the Smithsonian and such. And around here also, we're very close to the Allegheny River, and the Delaware Indian, their name for a tribe of giants was the Allegheny. So basically, the Allegheny is named after giants.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
And we've even this is one that Tommy Cooper turned me on to, was that the whole thing with you remember the stereotypical thing about Indians greeting with the how and they're holding their hand up?
Yeah.
There was a theory that's actually based on showing that you have 5 fingers and not 6, that you're not Nephilim, you know. And so by making that greeting, you're showing I'm human. And so there's all kinds of weird things like that. Here within our very town here, this is where oil was first drilled for, the first oil wells around here. And there's oil on our creeks. There's like this scum that forms, and it's basically, if you look at it like evolution of oil to crude oil, this is like a very rough oil that collects on the surfaces. Now there's remnants of oil collection pits here, and as around the turn of the century, the last century, there was still lots of these pits, and the common history was, the Indians cultivated them, but the Indians themselves locally have no stories about that. And what they don't have also is any stories detailing the use of that oil that they collected. And and so it makes you wonder who built those and why. Was it for like oil lamps and stuff like that? And these pits, they'll be like 6 feet wide by maybe 10 or 12 feet long, and they're lined with half timbers that are actually a few hundred years old, but because they've been soaked in petroleum, they don't rot near as fast. The petroleum retards that rotting process. And I could take you and actually find you some of these pits. And the Indians, they have, or from around here, the Seneca, there's no story whatsoever about them using that oil. I think the history says that they put it in their hair, you know, and it was like there used to be thousands of these pits in this area. That wasn't for their hair.
Right.
No.
You know, so what was going on here? You know, and we've got these pits, these mounds all in our same area. And, you know, it kind of makes you wonder about our own history and such, you know, and it's great stuff, fun stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For sure.
Absolutely.
You know, and like, go ahead.
I was just going to ask about like spaceships and alien encounters, stuff like that. You guys have any weird stuff like that?
Yeah, actually, if lots of orb activity, which maybe is the bridge between those two Sasquatch and UFO worlds. And last year, Tommy and Nick, they got to go to Du Bois, PA, and they met up with Shane Siraway and Alex Petikoff and a few others. And those guys had just had a very long UFO encounter, something above them in the sky, and they came up with some pretty good footage. And and then now last year, also in December, I got to interview John McAfee for our Three Beers at Ray's series, and I asked him, is there any basis to aliens? Is there anything he can throw on there? And he said, John McAfee told me that aliens do live among us and have lived among us, and that we use their technologies every day, probably even the stuff that us guys are using right now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of that.
And so that was kind of awesome. Myself, I've never had a UFO encounter, but I put a lot of stock in them, and I don't know if all of them are like objects from elsewhere or our own secret stuff, that we don't know about.
Probably a little bit of both. Probably a little of both.
That's kind of where I lean. Yeah. That our own government, and whatever entities that branch off of it have some fantastic technology. Look what you can do with drones now that 15 years ago, that was, you had like what the Razor copters and stuff that you could, barely keep up and afloat. Now you can do just about anything with drones and stuff, so I put a lot of stock into that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and if you think about the technology explosion over the last 150 years, we went from nothing to we're all holding these tiny supercomputers in our hands right now.
Oh my God!
It's crazy.
Yeah. And fortunately for us, it's made things very fun. It's brought like this whole thing, like we've talked about our two groups doing with videos and podcasts and interviews and recordings. That used to be the realms of very wealthy people. And here none of us would be considered wealthy, and we get to play with some really, really cool toys that just 20 years ago seemed unimaginable.
Oh, absolutely. Jason, if you wouldn't mind me bringing you back for a second, how you were talking about the dog man, and you hear about the the red flannel and all that. Now, I don't know about you, but I've heard that kind of sounds like the Rougarou stories from the Louisiana, Mississippi area. Are you familiar with that at all?
Just a little bit, but and mostly because of having this same conversation with people that's been brought up before.
Yeah.
And that's another place where that kind of is very prevalent. I also saw last week Timothy Renner of Strange Familiars did one. I think it was Flannel Man, and I haven't actually listened to that yet. I kind of got it on the list of ones to get to, and I'm very curious about that one.
Yeah.
And what's really curious about the eyewitness encounters from Dogman that have come to us at Cryptovania in person, nobody wants to talk about it. Like on film or even in our Zero Squash 30 show that we've even changed people's voices and stuff for those to ensure anonymity, and that no interest. So these aren't people that are like, I'm going to get these guys' attention by telling them this strange Dogman story. These are people coming forward because something bothered them. This encounter has, and there's something a little different about it, because I think as weird as Bigfoot is, Dogman's just another step down the ladder,
Absolutely. Yeah, like Sean was saying, we're just starting to get our feet wet in the whole thing. The issue I had with it at first was like, in the anthropological sense, if it is a canine, an upright walking canine, was the issue I had with it at first. But the way you look at it, like you were saying, if we're into the whole Sasquatch phenomenon, you gotta be more open-minded to other things,
Yeah, I mean, and in all reality, if you accept that Bigfoot exists, to me, it's harder to believe that it's a simple but very skilled ape.
Yes.
There's something there, whether it's technology that we don't quite understand, or a skill set that we don't understand,
right.
or the whole interdimensional portal, maybe magic stuff.
Right.
It's, for me, it's very hard to believe that there's just a very, very skilled primate out there evading detection. And especially,
I agree.
And so once you kind of go down that rabbit hole there, that kind of opens things up, and even if you go along with it's a skill set that we don't understand. One of the things that Linda Godfrey has talked about is the possibility that they know how to emit like an electrical charge or vibration, and that's one of the reasons that they're so hard to photograph. Then there's also like the Heiligenschein, which isn't actually a theory; it's more of a explanation for the way light refracts through things, including hollow guard hairs of maybe a Bigfoot. And so you've got light refracting from there and creating a very hard to photograph presence. Could it just be science that we don't understand, or is there something magical type, interdimensional type thing? Which again could just be science that we don't understand.
Exactly. Yes.
And like it's kind of it's fantastic subjects, and
it is. Yeah.
And myself, I'm an optimist, and I'm 50 years old, and I feel almost naive in my optimism right now, in that I really do believe that something fantastic is coming in the way of like disclosure and stuff. And just how fantastic, I don't know, but I see things like free energy and things like that on the horizon, and I kind of think that that's where we're going, and that's really even why there's so many encounters now as opposed to before. I don't think that's just a population thing. I don't think it's just us talking to each other and sharing that we've had encounters. I think the number of encounters is increasing, and I think it's because we're going towards something very cool.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. I gotta agree with you there. And I know Sean and myself, at one point, I mean, I went from I think I've been through every stage of belief of what these things are that there is. You know what I mean? From, like you were saying, Jason, to just another highly developed ape, and then I went with the giganto theory, and then and I realized there's more to it than that, like, as far as like you were saying, the interdimensional thing, so, to be honest, I'm not quite sure anymore, it's just, there's so many possibilities, but I believe, 100% what you were saying. It's not just some highly developed ape. There's way more to it than that. Way more to it.
And myself, I came from the opposite end of the spectrum. I entered into this. I've always kind of suspected that Bigfoot encounters and stuff were like ghost encounters or spirit encounters, and so that was my original feeling towards the whole Bigfoot phenomenon. And that was really where I was at when me and Tommy first became friends and really started kind of going into this. I was kind of like, oh, you guys are chasing what you think is a simple ape, but you're not going to find it because I think it's a spirit. And so I've almost come to from the opposite end, where I've actually put like some flesh and blood on what I originally thought was a spirit entity.
Right. I got you there. Yeah, I got you. There's definitely, definitely something we're missing. There, as far as the intelligence level, I think, it's incredible. As far as that end of it goes, yeah, I mean, like we were saying, I mean, it's just, there's so many different ways to think about it. I mean, and like Sean, you always say, you know, they could be something all on its own. You know what I mean? You know, something that you would not even expect, something that a species all on its own, not related to, you know, primates, humans, nothing, but just something all on its own, like, you know, something interdimensional, or you know, it's a fascinating subject for sure.
And who's the expert, you know?
Exactly.
For all of us, you know, we're all chasing a unicorn around, and it's funny,
Right.
people will get tripped up over whether the unicorn has a golden horn or a white horn. And,
Right.
You know, and no matter where you go, even if you're the most strictest flesh and blood to even, I don't think it exists, there's a phenomenon where hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are having some kind of encounter. And it's either some mass psychosis or there's something going on. And it's something
for sure.
very out of the ordinary.
Yeah, and it's all over the world, you know, not just here in North America. So, I mean, for people, in my opinion, for people to I mean, I don't know if I want to call it ignorance, but it's people, I think, are very, very close-minded, you know, for, like you said, Jason, all these, you know, millions of people have seen these things, you know, and how do you dismiss it? You know, it's like saying that we're the only people that think we're the only intelligent life form in the universe. That to me is ridiculous. You know, to think
Odds
we're
are
the
against
only.
it.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
You know,
when I was a kid, my favorite book in the world was the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, and they talked about the theory of improbability leading to, if you figure out just how improbable something is, aren't you also figuring out how probable it is by extension? You know, and you know, and so there's something odd there. And one of the beauties of this whole Bigfoot thing is, of all these thousands of stories, we just need one to be true. If one of them is true, it blows everything up. All you need is one. You know, if you're the most ardent, skilled debater, are you telling me that I can take 1,000 cases and you're going to debunk 1,000 cases, or can I beat you because I just got to beat you with just one, and the whole paradigm is destroyed.
That's right.
You know, and
that's right.
Very, very cool. You know, and I think it's kind of leading us as people too we've got to be more open-minded with things. You know, and it kind of, I think, transcends to other things in life. And I think, you know, a lot of times the things that you see in the Bigfoot world, like some of the infighting and stuff, it's like a microcosm of our society and stuff, especially with social media. We've had to learn to develop manners with each other.
Oh, without a doubt.
You know, and sometimes we fail.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a fact.
Absolutely. That is definitely a fact. You know, and you brought up the debunking. Like Tom actually, I think it was, wasn't it? John made a good a point. How, you know, you see so many good videos online, and then someone will come on and be like, "Well, wasn't that debunked?" Well, debunked by who? You know what I mean?
Right. Who is this authority?
Exactly. Who's this authority that's debunking all these videos? You know, like, come on.
Yeah, an interesting case in that is I came across what is it? The one from New York. It's not Marble Mountain. It's one most people dismiss it as like a costume or something. And as he steps out of the creek, everybody says, "Oh, I see he's got a shoe." And you're taking that picture that's very pixelated, and you're saying, "I see a shoe." But then when somebody takes a pixelated image in the woods, they're saying, "Oh, that's pareidolia." You know, one man's shoe is another man's pareidolia.
Right.
You know, and it's funny, that was one that, that's been debunked. You know,
right? Exactly.
Really, by who? You know, and even if all of the experts, you know.
Yeah.
And even if all four of us in this chat, we all, yep, that's bunk. That doesn't change that it's there, you know. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
You know, we didn't just prove it wrong, you know. And a lot of them probably are. There are some hoaxes out there, but I think that whole, each one should be looked at individually, and even if, you know, it kind of points to some of the technologies and stuff, and it's a part of the phenomenon, and that's why I like to take a close look at those. I kind of enjoy looking at those as much as the others, you know, and you know, because they all open up questions and stuff, and that kind of what if
Sure,
you know, and so that's kind of fun.
You know,
too.
that Thinker Thunker does a really good job with that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does. Sorry,
I didn't mean to step on you there. I like watching him.
Bigfoot Tony is one that I've watched, although sometimes I've disagreed with him too. You know, and that's one of the beauties of this.
Absolutely. So have you had a one-on-one experience? Have you actually seen one of these animals out in the woods?
I have not. I have seen one through a night vision camera when we had the Coshocton crew up here a few months ago. We caught some thermal. We caught some a tall leaner. And I was able to see that in the camera. You know, Tommy brought that to my face, but that's the closest that I have had with a actual encounter myself.
Well, that's still very cool though.
Oh yeah. It's and when you see the picture, you're like, wow, that's some interesting motion. It's like it peaks from one side of the tree to the other, and then it leaves. And
that's very cool.
Yeah, and we had just showed up at that location, and we were only 5 minutes out of the vehicle actually, and still being kind of noisy and stuff. And we caught that, and you know, it was startling, especially like after you know, you get home and you put it on the computer and you're checking it out and you're like, wow, that was awesome. And it makes, you know, makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the limit of my own encounter with a squatch.
Gotcha. Now, is that you're in the Cryptovania area now? You're talking about, is that considered Appalachia?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Basically, right in the center, if you look at a map, you've got Erie all the way up in the little panhandle part, and then you've got Pittsburgh down south of that. We're right in between those 2 points.
Okay.
So we kind of claim that whole area stretching from Lake Erie down to Pittsburgh. That we can claim that as Cryptovania. We've planted our flag on that hill.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, how far would you be from?
Beautiful area.
Yeah.
It is. It's very, very, very pretty. How far would you be from like the be familiar with the Allegheny Park, like on the New York PA border?
Okay, and Lake Kinzu and such, or Kinzu Dam in Allegheny Reservoir? Yes,
that area.
We are about 45 to 50 minutes west of there.
Oh wow, that's not far at all.
No. I've gone up there for a couple like Bigfoot expeditions, or not expeditions, but expositions where we spoke up there.
Okay.
Our first guest ever for our show was Denny Bigelow, and he's formed the group Strange Kinzu, and he's got some fantastic tales. And that was really cool because that was our first ever show. We really didn't have any body of work. This guy didn't really know us at all, and he got in his car and drove here, and for all he knew, we were going to roast him or troll him, you know. And he walked in, and we became great friends. And he actually left. When he left, he gave us like his full library of videos, and we got to cut our editing teeth on a lot of this really strange Kinzu footage. So yeah, we're about 45 minutes west of Kinzu. Okay.
Yep. I know exactly.
Back when we used to repair skidder tires and stuff, used to go out there quite a bit in that area because there's a lot of timbering up there. And several of us in the Cryptovania crew used to go out and do row calls on like log skidder tires and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. And that's actually where we've gotten to do a lot of our exploring. We would go do a job in the middle of the Allegheny National Forest, then be like, let's take the long way home, man. And we'd get to go do a lot of things like that.
I actually did an investigation in that area, and I think I actually sent you the pictures at one point. All the mounds that these things were sticking the toys in.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right from the Allegheny area.
Oh, that's a fantastic area. They have a.
Oh yeah.
Did you know that there's there's a Kinzu Nessie? There's a sea creature.
I did not know that. Tell us a little bit about that if you're familiar.
They call her the Kinzu Nessie, and actually the Boy Scouts from the area, the corn planter troop actually has a Kinzu Nessie as their patch when they go to Jamboree every year, because there's actually a story from about 10 years ago, or maybe even 15 now, where they saw the Nessie rolling, and it kind of scared the heck out of them. But it was during a Boy Scout trip, and so now every year since, when they go to the Boy Scout Jamboree, their patch is some kind of variation of the Kinzu Nessie.
Very
and
cool.
Actually, we're very proud to actually have some footage of what may well be the Kinzu Nessie, kind of rolling. You see kind of a like almost like a curved fin, come up out of the
very cool.
the water. Detractors will say that it's like a school of sturgeon or something like that.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
But it sure looks like a Kinzu Nessie to me. And yeah, that's that Kinzu area. It's, even if you're just going into any of the pull-off places off the road and stuff, it has a strange feel to it. It has a strange Kinzu feel to it. And that may even be from like the displaced Indians and stuff.
Could be. Yeah.
There's all kinds of interesting things. There's also tales of caves with giant furniture when they were building that dam. Matter of fact, there's local legends of a firefight actually between the army and something in those caves. It's an incredible amount of weird stories that come out of that strange Kinzu country.
Man. A lot of history there.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Jason, how now, as far as the Kinzu Lake? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That was probably just interference.
Oh, okay. Hey, I was just going to ask you, Jason, how big is this thing supposed to be?
The Kinzu Nessie?
Yes.
I think anywhere from like in that 16 to 30 foot long.
Okay, so about the size of like the Lake Champlain.
Yes. Yeah, okay. That's kind of a very similar feel to it. And then there's also talk that up in Lake Erie, they have their own one too that's very kind of not very well known. It's more like a serpent. But there's also legends that perhaps there's deep underground caves that connect the Great Lakes with the Kinzu country, or maybe like when they created that whole dam and stuff, they opened up something, and that's how you get from there to there. Because Kinzu is man-made, and relatively new, but there's thought that maybe something was kind of released from the construction. And there's quite a few little eyewitness encounters of that Kinzu Nessie. Very interesting, and to have a Boy Scout pack that, or troop that actually every year they have a badge dedicated to Nessie.
That's very cool. I was totally unaware of that. That's very, very, very cool.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful lake too. And there's a strange reservoir that's directly up above it, actually. And it's for like when there's like low water or something, it's so that they can release for creating energy, I think. And it's such a deep pit that they have filled with water. They say it sucks light up. And if you actually have a vehicle and it shines headlights. It doesn't refract or reflect the light. It's like sucks it in.
Wow.
And it's got a strange feel to it. I was actually up there with Nick. Him and I were up there. It was actually during one of the government shutdowns during the Obama era, and it was like the first day, I think, of the first actual really big shutdown. And we went and repaired a skidder tire, and we decided to go. We basically went and got ourselves lost, and we came to that reservoir up there, and man, that had a creepy feel to it. I can't say I saw anything, but I was relieved to leave.
Right.
When we left there, I felt, I was like, oof, and
right.
And that also had to do with the fact that I was also running out of gas, because we're driving around this old beat up pickup, me and Nick filled with
it could happen.
yeah. At least we knew if we had a flat tire, we were good to go. But other than that,
right.
We had a big air compressor in the back, and it used to be kind of cool. And actually, me and Nick spent about a year going around and doing those kind of tire repairs and stuff together.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, any other types of cryptids seen in the area, Jason?
Yeah. If you picture that map of between Erie and Pittsburgh, you've got us right in the middle, and then if you picture us between us and Pittsburgh, that area there's a lot of like Mothman or bats or giant bird type things. There's a lot of stories in that general area. And then I've also gotten a couple, mostly through Facebook and stuff, of guys up in like southwestern New York, also talking about these very big birds or Mothman type things, and that was one that that was, to me, it seemed very unlikely. And I don't know now.
Right.
I'm not going to 100% say, but because to me it seems kind of fantastical, but
yeah,
I also believe in Bigfoot.
same here, man. Yeah, I agree. What about any Jersey Devil like type things? I know you're quite a long ways away from there, but I know PA's had some sightings, right?
Yeah, and one of my favorites from the Bigfoot world is David Thundercloud out in Jersey, and he's got some fantastic stuff, and Maryland, and he's right in that area between in that Maryland, New Jersey area there, and it's kind of some kind of places where you really wouldn't think of being a hotbed of that kind of activity, but man, that guy's got some cool stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah. He's probably my longest standing friend in the Bigfoot world that I don't know that I didn't know from real life.
Right.
Is David Thundercloud. That's a cool cat there.
Oh yeah, Dave's great. Dave's a great guy. Yeah, for sure. Knows his stuff. Yep.
He's had some of his stuff kind of has that Dogman, Jersey Devil, very creepy feel to it. That's very unpatty like. Right.
Yeah. Dave's very credible. He's a legit guy, and I know him for quite a few years too. He's definitely legit. That's for sure.
Yeah, and very cool. I enjoy it.
Very cool guy. Yep.
And I love his signing out, and he'll be like, "Thunder out." You're like, that's really cool.
Yeah. you know Dave, Sean.
Well, we're Facebook friends, but I'm not. Yeah. I don't know him.
That's friends,
Right.
That's kind of one of the cool things about this is you've got a bunch of a bunch of dudes that know each other from Facebook groups and Bigfoot groups, and it's really cool.
It is.
And I spend throughout the day, I talk to my friends on Facebook Messenger and stuff. It's actually how my kids get a hold of me when they need to. They go through Facebook Messenger, and I remember when it first came out, and stuff, and I'd ask my kids, "What are you doing?" "We're Facebooking." "What the hell is that?"
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, that way, pretty occupied by Facebook stuff quite a bit of the day, you know.
Yeah.
right.
Social media has done a lot for this subject, and groups like this. I think it's helped it gain a lot of momentum and speed, for sure.
And then you also see it in the world of politics and stuff. You know, but then even like around here, you can't even have a family reunion or a garage sale without putting it on Facebook.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. Your family reunion ain't nothing if it ain't on Facebook.
Right.
Yeah. But they do a good job too, you know, and you know, very, and it's kind of one of the cool phenomenons of the whole Bigfoot world is, you know, all these people befriending each other and sometimes even sniping at each all right through social media and such.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like one of my favorite experiences, like with social media stuff, is
it definitely gives us all a chance to, you know, get to know each other and go, you know what I mean, and just pick each other's brains, and that's what I like about it anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it fills my day with something cool.
Yeah,
I never watch television. I never do. Matter of fact, that's why my queue of shows that I would like to watch, you know, especially like the Bigfoot and cryptid stuff. Man, I've got a lot I'd like to watch and a lot of podcasts I'd like to listen to, you know, but, you know, and so TV has been completely shut out of my life. I don't, you know, if I don't see it on my phone or my computer, I don't see it. And I think that's kind of becoming kind of commonplace. And for us as programmers, that's kind of one of the challenges, because getting away from the research aspect and just looking at producing cool content, you want to put it in front of people's eyes, and you want them to be able to watch your stuff. And you know, and so we've all had to adjust to those things. You know, like there's a lot of very cool podcasts out there that maybe only get a few dozen listens and stuff, but there's still really cool stuff. And some, it's just getting things to getting it to where they can see it. And, you know, and to me, it's one of a phenomenon that's kind of a side shoot of that you see in real life, other than Bigfoot stuff, is like, how do advertisers and stuff, you know, how did they get their word to people? Because it's all changed with this whole, you know, every one of us, you know, having access to these things, you know, it's totally disrupted the whole industry of entertainment and advertising and stuff. How do you get your product in front of somebody's eyes? You know, like it used to be like, put something in the local newspaper. You know, I guarantee your local newspaper doesn't get the views that a couple of good Facebook groups do.
Oh, no way.
Right.
You know, and you know, and we've seen that with our stuff, and that's one of my missions is to try and make our stuff very viewable on Facebook. I like to make it so that you don't have to click off of my stuff to watch it. I want you to be able to watch it on Facebook, or whichever platform you're on at the time. You're choosing to be on that platform,
right?
And so you're not trying to lose that. And so that's kind of one of the things that I really follow along with, is how to get people's eyes on things. And one of our core goals with Cryptovania is we want it to always be free to the viewer. You know, we don't do Patreon, don't do any pay-per-view stuff. Everything we do is free, and we encourage people to take our stuff, play it, steal it, do whatever. It's kind of like the old, was it Abby Hoffman, Steal This Book? We're like, steal this show. And, you know, we just want people to see it. And we'll figure out how to make it pay without having the viewer pay. You know, we're kind of going back to the old school, you know, back when you used to get to watch stuff on television, and, you know, you didn't have cable bills and stuff, you know, you just had your stuff, and they figured out how to make it pay. And so that's kind of one of our challenges, is take advantage of that and to try. And I think it's very common thread throughout, whether you're making Bigfoot stuff or you're selling widgets. the world has been turned on its ear by social media and our access to these things. How do we take advantage of it? You know, and and it's difficult and it's a lot to learn, but it also means that, you know, like us group of guys here sitting here chatting, we've got the same kind of opportunities that like the Hollywood elites and stuff have. You know, they have more money and stuff, and they have their dying dinosaur of medias, and we have fresh ideas, and that's right. Really, you know, so it's fantastic times.
It is, and not only that, you know, we have the, you know, unlike a lot of the Hollywood, you know, like you were just referring to, we've got the passion that goes along with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and relatability.
We live in the real world. Relatability.
Yeah,
that's what I was getting at. We live in the real world. We're not not in a bubble where we're, you know, those people. I don't like Hollywood.
Yeah,
sure you can tell.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a good thing to be a part of. You know, I think it's, and I hate to make a mountain out of a molehill, but I really think like the American viewing public is better off now than they used to be, because little guys like us can do something, because little guys like us and Wes Germer and Tony Merkel and Vic Cundiff, you know, can do something completely independent of the elite media stuff, you know. And I think it's it gives me great hope for the ones that like the kids that are younger than us. You know, they're growing up with these fantastic opportunities, and it's going to be cool to see what they do with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of Tony, he's a great guy. I love his show, man. It's a really good podcast, and I wish him the best. I hope it really takes off for him.
To me, if you would like to listen to the most well-produced podcast in the cryptid world, I think you go and you listen to Tony Merkel. If you're looking for, you know, for a good, solid product to emulate when it comes to like a skill set, that guy's got it together. And he's done a really good job of addressing some of, you know, of letting his show go into some of the deeper, darker corners. And he's done it in such a way that he hasn't alienated people. And you know, that's a very good skill set that he's got there. And we had him and his brother Jack out for a weekend. And that was a great time. And it was really cool because he got to talk to us about like starting and trying and failing at things, and finally kind of getting his feet, and like his wife believing in him, and you know, and you know, feeling like, you know, you're making things, and that's probably my favorite actual interview for full content is that one there, is the Tony Merkel interview, because I really think we get to the heart of Tony Merkel, the producer, and that was fun.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to check that one out. I haven't seen that one yet, but I really do enjoy Tony. He's a good dude.
Yeah, and he did one about a month ago with Larry Johnson, who used to be a football player for the Kansas City Chiefs, and now he's kind of a very outspoken
Christian.
Yeah, and he's, you know, very convinced that, you know, the elites are getting rolled up, and that they're demonic in their you know, in their presence. And you know, that was a fantastic episode. There was Tony Merkel interviewing, you know, Larry Johnson, and that
really is, and I agree with him too on most of that. But he did kind of go off on that, thinking all Freemasons are you know, evil and involved in that shit. I am a Freemason, so I can tell you that that's not true. But, there's probably offshoots of weirdos. Aleister Crowley was a Freemason, and he perverted it and took
Oh, yeah.
in a different direction, too. So, but, yeah, I heard that show, and it was a good one. It was a really good one.
When was that? Last month, you said?
Yeah, I think it was about a month ago, maybe 5 to 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
But it wasn't that long ago. And to me, Larry Johnson's the best or the second best user of Twitter in the world. The first, obviously, is Donald Trump.
Yep.
And I think Johnson is in that class just below there. And so that was a fun one for me. And also, Larry touches on a lot of the things that we kind of like to leave alone with Cryptovania. Basically, just because we don't want to go down some of the more darker, unpleasant alleys. And so it's really cool to listen to those from other people.
Right.
But that's also a part of our thing. We want Cryptovania to always be family friendly. We don't want you to be worried that your 14-year-old is watching.
Right.
And so we do leave some subjects alone where we might, as enthusiasts and stuff, come into. As Cryptovania as a group, we leave those alone.
Well, you do a great job, man. I enjoy your stuff. You guys are fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And it's really great to hear from people that we respect and that are doing the same thing. And we really feel it means a lot, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it means a lot to us too for you being here, Jason. It really does. You and Tom have, like John and I were saying, we're, trying to, we're just getting our feet wet and, trying to head down the similar road,
Yeah, it is. It's great fun, and we're really enjoying the ride, and it gives each day just a little bit more meaning too. There's something.
Yes.
It gives you a really cool thing to be a part of, and then to have, and then to be able to sit down and with some of the coolest people in the country and in the world, and have them call you their friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks
for sure.
Thanks to all you guys. Thanks. I really appreciate calling you guys friends.
Yeah. Same here. Same here.
Absolutely.
Jason. Same here. We really appreciate you coming on, man, and dedicating your time to giving us an interview, man. We really do. Really appreciate it.
Gives me a chance to run at the mouth, which I can do pretty good sometimes.
That's a good thing, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's definitely a good thing. But yeah, we appreciate it, Jason. We'd love to have you back on at some point,
Yeah. Maybe what we'll do is sometime down the road pick a specific subject that is present in today's, whatever new cryptid news is going on, and maybe attack that subject.
That sounds great.
Sounds
awesome,
great, man.
Guys. Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you,
guys
Jason.
have a very good night.
You too, sir. Have a good night, bud.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks. Good meeting you too, man.
If you guys never heard of the show Cryptovania before, and you have a Roku, you should go check it out. It's free. There's a bunch of stuff on there, all sorts of shows. These guys do all this stuff. You wouldn't believe it. You would think that they were producing, like professional shows and stuff. It's pretty crazy. They have a Facebook page, any of that kind of stuff. Cryptovania, Roku, Cryptovania Facebook. I'd also like to give a shout out to the gentleman that does the graphic for our thumbnail for the show. His name's Steve Baxter. He's a fellow out of the UK that helping us out, and we really appreciate it. It's got a lot of talent, a lot of cool stuff on his Flickr account. Jeremiah's going to post a link to his Flickr account if you guys want to check out his stuff. It's right in line with all the kinds of things that we're talking about here, and then some. I mean, it's some really neat graphic art there. He's also got an email address. His name is chumpanzie@hotmail.co.uk. CHUMPANZIE @hotmail.co.uk. If you're looking for a graphic artist, or if you're interested in what he's doing, send him a line, let him know. If you got an idea for a show or you need to get in touch with Jeremiah or Sean, come find us on Facebook. The On the Trail Cryptid and Paranormal Research is the name of the Facebook group. Make sure you tell Jeremiah how to spell paranormal. He needs to know. You can also send any one of us an email if you want to get in touch with us. The email address are real similar. It's on the trail, all one word, onthetrail.jf@gmail.com or .sw@gmail.com or .zk@gmail.com. Any of those, we'll get your email, and if you got any ideas, if you want to tell us how we're doing, whatever you got to say, and send us an email there. And we hope to see you all next time on the trail, the search for living legends. Hope you're all there. Thank you, everybody, for taking some time with us. Be good. Be good to each other.